Our virtual lesson for today. Today we're going to talk about something called the Triangle Trade Route. You may have a little bit of background knowledge about this depending on how much you paid attention as a 7th grader and or what day you're doing your virtual lesson. So this will be a short intro into the Triangle Trade Route. So I'm going to share my slideshow with you here. There we go. So you can see the title of our lesson is From the Columbian Exchange to the Triangle Trade Route. The movement of African slaves to the New World. So this is the Columbian Exchange. You've probably become pretty familiar with this map at this point. This is that trading of goods, especially crops that we see coming from the New World and then being planted back in the Old World in Europe and really being very successful. Crops like tomatoes and potatoes. We see them really take off if we think of tomato sauce. We obviously probably think of Italian food in the country of Italy. Our spaghetti, our manicotti, our lasagna. It tastes so good, right? So we see that a lot of foods that were found in the New World, North and South America, actually become very successful back in Europe when they are taken back to Europe and planted and become a major part of their diet and their way of life and culture, tomatoes being one, potatoes, super popular in Ireland. Those are just a couple of examples. And then we see also on this bottom arrow here that Europe sent a lot of things to the New World, North and South America, that the natives of the New World had never seen before. Farm animals, domestic animals being one, cattle, sheep, pigs, horses, but also things like sugar, peaches, bananas. Those all originally came from Europe, but tend to be known and more popular today in North and South America. But we can kind of see this exchange is more like a oval. New World, Old World, New World, Old World, New World, Old World. Just kind of a constant circular or oval shaped change. But that's about to change. We are going to move into more of a triangular trade pattern rather than this circular pattern. So let's just do a little review. So we've talked a lot so far this unit about why in the world anyone would leave Europe and come all the way to North America or South America. It's a long, dangerous journey. You are going to get sick on the boat. There's a chance the boat could tip over and you could drown. There's a chance that you're going to get blown off course. So why would people come? Well, we know that many Europeans come to the New World because the soil is so good. There's good fertile soil. The climate is very warm. It's just a really great place to grow crops because the soil back in Europe has been overplanted. It's been overused and they haven't really discovered crop rotation and things like that. So that soil has been depleted of all its resources. However, the soil in the New World is sort of untouched in their minds and will be perfect for planting. Let's clear all those stupid trees out and plant some crops, right? And there are a lot of crops that sell really well, numerous what we call cash crops on a plantation. Remember, a plantation is a huge farm, and typically it's worked by slave labor, and the products or the crops being sold are cash crops, which are crops to be sold. Cash crops are grown in large amounts, different from like a family farm where the crops grown on the farm are to support the family and maybe the neighboring neighbors in a small community, but not to be sold on like a huge scale and make the plantation owner super rich. So cash crops. And some of the crops that we see are really successful are sugar, rice, things like indigo, corn, cotton, tobacco. Those will take off as well. However, on a plantation, like I said, it's typically worked by slave labor. And when the very first Europeans come over to the New World, the slave labor is going to be the Native Americans. Many Native American tribes are going to be conquered by the Europeans and enslaved to work on plantations. Over time, close to 90% of the native population will die for a variety of reasons. Diseases that are brought to the New World by the Europeans. The natives don't have the immune system to fight off the diseases that the natives bring over, or that the Europeans bring over. Sorry. The natives don't have the immune system to fight the diseases the Europeans bring over. We also see many die in battles or war against the Europeans. Are trying to fight back for these strangers coming to take their land. Starvation sets in, especially for those who are enslaved. Starvation sets in, they become weak, they are very underfed for as much work as they are doing. And if we think about if you are starving and your body is not getting the nutrients it needs, if you come in contact with disease, your body's going to have a really hard time fighting off that disease. So, all four of these things contribute to the fact that about 90% of the native population is going to be wiped out not long after, within about 150 years of the first Europeans coming to the New World. So, once the natives are gone, the question is who is going to work these plantations? What comes next? These large sugar, tobacco, cotton plantations have already been established in the New World. Who's going to work them? Who's going to take care of these cash crops for the plantation owners? So this is when I want to make sure that you have pulled up your triangular trade map worksheet. It's in the same assignment where you found this video. Pull it up, send it to Notability. You can pause this video if you need to, pause it and do whatever you gotta do. Send it to Notability because I'm going to go through a few steps here over the next slides of things that you need to put on that map worksheet, and then you'll just have a few reflection questions at the end to answer. So it's a pretty short assignment, but you're going to need this worksheet. I would recommend having it up, maybe split screening this while we're going through this information. So the question was, who's going to work the plantations? The Native Americans who were the slaves that were forced to work it, their population is dying. They're weak, they're not able to work, and most of them are dying of starvation, diseases, or battles. So we looked at the Columbian Exchange, which was that New World, Old World, New World, Old World trade route. Now we're going to move to something called the triangle trade, and we're adding a new leg. As you can see, there are 3 parts to this triangle trade route, and this is when we see African slaves introduced to the New World. We're going to see Africans kidnapped in Africa, taken to the New World, and sold into slavery. So we have these 3 legs of the triangle right here. North and South America are going to be rich with natural resources and land. That's why the Europeans come in the first place. So we're going to see that natural resources and cash crops are going to be sent to Europe. Things like sugar, tobacco, and cotton are going to be sent to Europe. In Europe, many of those things are going to be manufactured, man-made into something. The sugar is going to be made into the sugar is going to be made into rum and alcohol. Tobacco is obviously going to be dried and sent into cigars. Cotton is going to be turned into fabric, or what we call textiles. So the natural resources of North and South America are going to be sent to Europe and manufactured into some sort of man-made product. Now those man-made products are going to be really valuable because they are then going to be taken to Africa, where they will be traded for African slaves. They will be traded to Africans who have kidnapped neighboring tribes and then sold their kidnapped victims into slavery, and they will be exchanged for manufactured goods. Things like rum, cloth fabric, also things like that are made of metal. Most of the blacksmith shops are in Europe. North and South America don't have many metal goods. Africa doesn't as well. So we're going to see things like guns, swords, pots and pans. Other metal objects will also be traded for these kidnapped Africans. And then the kidnapped Africans will be sold into slavery back into the New World, where they will then be forced to take care of the very cash crops, cotton, tobacco, sugar, that will then be sent to Europe, made into manufactured goods, that will then be sent to Africa, traded for more kidnapped Africans to be sold into slavery into the New World. So you can see this is kind of a constant cycle, this triangle trade route. Natural resources from the New World sent to Europe to be made into manufactured goods taken to Africa, traded for kidnapped Africans that are then taken to the New World and sold into slavery. It's a triangular trade pattern, different from the Columbian Exchange, which was just between the New World and Old World, North America, South America, and Europe. So on your worksheet, the first step is going to be, let's label the lands that were connected by the triangle trade. So we have the continents of North and South America. We also have the Caribbean islands. That's going to be a really popular destination for sugar plantations. Sugar is going to grow very well in these islands, and that's going to need a large amount of slave labor. We're going to see lots of Africans sold into the islands in the Caribbean to work on sugar plantations. Also, let's make sure we label the continents of Africa and Europe. Then we need to add the 3 legs of the triangle trade. So we need to connect Europe to Africa, connect Africa to the Americas, and connect the Americas back to Europe. Create that triangular trade pattern. Next to the 3 arrows, label what was traded. What was moved from Europe to Africa? What was moved from Africa to the Americas? And what did the Americas send to Europe? Think about the conversation we just had. Think about what you learned in class. Refer to the map earlier in the slideshow where it shows the actual triangular trade patterns. So you're going to label, and the requirements are you need to label at least 2 things that travel along each one of these arrows. So at least 2 natural resources or cash crops that leave North and South America and travel to Europe, 2 things that leave Europe and are sent to Africa that are traded to then really only 1 thing goes across this yellow arrow right here, and that would be kidnapped Africans that will be sold into slavery. So thanks for watching this short video. I really appreciate it. Please submit your work on the Triangle Trade Map worksheet in Canvas. Be sure you have completed all the instructions from the video and that you've answered the few reflective questions below. They're pretty simple, just true, false. So this is Ms. Considine. If you have any questions, please reach out to your social studies teacher. They're going to be happy to help you. And I hope you guys have a really great day. Take care.